right, this is a discussion I really wanted to have. As you can see, I put a question mark after the word rebuild. It's fascinating because on one hand, you'll have people like Craig Conroy at the end of season interviews. And honestly, the Flames organization really as a whole, for as long as I've followed them, over 20 years, they've always been reluctant to use the word rebuild. It's part of the reason they've never had a top 3 pick ever. So some people say even with all the trades you've made, as long as you've got those contracts of Kadri, Huberdeau, Coleman, Weegar, Anderson, for some people, as long as you have them on your roster, it's not a true teardown rebuild. But for people who do look at it as a rebuild, like you look at the names Craig Conroy's had to trade since becoming Flames GM last year, so many core at the very...
The Flames need a rebuild. They have been going horribly for the past season, so yeah.
very least important players, that now, just a year later, only 6 players remain from that 2022-23 team. And in bulk, the return for those players has mostly been draft picks, prospects, and young players. It's the most rebuildy I've seen this team look since 2013 when Jerome McGinley, Jay Bouwmeester, Alex Tanguay, Mika Kiprusoff nixed a trade to Toronto but ended up retiring at the end of the year anyways. So even just going to 2022 where we talk about Gaudreau and Tkachuk, like this team has taken it down to the studs. Like it's completely different now. And I know you shouldn't put a lot of stock in a development camp, that makes sense, but the stockpiling of youth that Craig Conroy's banking the future of this franchise on, it's starting to look really, really promising. Now, of course, time will tell how many of these players will actually pan out at the NHL level. That's why I don't want to put too much stock into the development camp. But my impression, as well as quite a few other people, was that Craig Conroy...
I gotta speak, and this isn't about the Calgary Flames. So I went to the Penguins development camp and the prospect camp, I think. I call it the prospect camp, but you can call it whatever you want. Got to see a lot of great players. I got to see Tanner Howe, some great goalies. There were 2 great ones. There was number 1, Mushrove. And then 2, I'm not sure what his name was. I'm not even sure if I did number 1's name right. But anyway, I got to see the head coach of the Penguins, Mike Sullivan. And yeah.
Conroy had a sparkling 2024 draft. It seems as though at the very least he's given the franchise a good chance of building something sustainably good in the future. And that's quite refreshing for many of the Flames teams of old where it was like, okay, the window isn't as open as it should be right now. Let's try to mishmash a bunch of things together in free agency and trade and just hope and pray we can go on a good run here. And that Parekh pick really seems to have been uplifting for the fan base. It reminds me of once again in 2013 at the draft when Sean Monahan was taken. He was like the first face of the new era of Flames hockey after Iginla. I know Tkachuk and Gaudreau ended up being the biggest stars, but before we'd seen those two, this guy was taken 6th overall. You could tell he was super pumped to be a Flame. He scored 22 goals as a rookie 19-year-old, which was impressive. This was back before everyone, including the popcorn guy in the 5th row, was getting 100 points in a season. The level of offense we're getting nowadays is crazy, but I love it. But Monahan just kind of represented the future of the franchise and how bright it could be, and I kind of get that same vibe from Parekh. So far, I think this rebuild, reset, whatever you want to call it, I think it's going really well. Of course, you'd love a top 3 pick to really kick it into high gear, but after quite a bit of heartbreak and turnover and chaos for Flames fans here, I'd say things are looking up right now. Look, I'm really not expecting much at all from the Flames this season, but there still are quite a few things that I'm going to be watching intently that definitely fascinate me for the future. Like for one, how big of a step can Zary, Coronado, Peltier take this upcoming season? How does Sharangovich look after signing that big long-term deal? How's the Mantha Huberdeau experiment going to go? How's Dustin Wolf going to play this year now that there's no safety net of Markstrom? Jake Bean and...
Hey. Maybe Johnny Aki, you should change your name or your logo. Johnny Aki to a blue background instead of a red one, or you could change the name Johnny Aki. Jonathan Huberdeau's nickname. Jonathan. Or you could change it to Hoobie, like That's another option.
Bean in his introductory press conference raved about how deeply connected he is to the Flames franchise and how much he's loved it since he was a kid. Can that translate to him being a really good top four defenseman going forward for the team? Because he's only 26. Like, he could end up being part of the long-term mix here. And there's definitely some other storylines to keep an eye on as well. So while I don't think we're going to see a 2015 Cardiac Kids Calgary Flames here, I also don't think this is going to be a boring one. But now I pass it on to you, Flames fans and hockey fans in general. How do you think the rebuild or reset,
Sorry, I'm
whatever
a
you want to
hockey
call
fan in general. I wouldn't say that I'm a Calgary Flame fan. If I was born when the Atlanta Flames ended and when the Calgary Flames began, I would have been a fan of the Calgary Flames. Probably. I'm a fan of what now is the Utah Hockey Club. Maybe if you're watching this in a year, it might be something else, like Yetis or Mountain Rangers. And if you are watching this a year or two in the future or more, how's the world going? Comment down below if you are a month plus in the future watching this. Like and subscribe if you're watching this in 2024, 2025, or 2026. And yeah.
Call it. How do you think that's gone so far since Conroy's taken the job on? And what are you most interested to see from this team this upcoming season? If you want more Flames content, you know what to do. Like the video, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. You're awesome.
Already, you guys know what to do. Like and subscribe for more NHL content. Yeah, eek.
Hours after being sworn in, Joe Biden reversed President Trump's successful border policies. Biden stopped deportations and stopped building the wall. Now illegals are streaming across the border in.
So, as a New York Rangers fan, I was very happy to open Twitter today. George Laraque posted the following. I'm training Matt Rempe and Tyler Bauer for hockey fighting this week in Edmonton at the Silent Ice Arena. If you thought Rempe was a problem this year in the NHL, wait till you see him this coming season. I say I love this as a Rangers fan because while no one questioned Rempe's size and his ferocity and willingness to throw hands, he definitely was lacking when it came to pure hockey fighting skills. Everything from how to hold a jersey, how to protect himself, and there was worry among the fan base that Rempe, who was seemingly going through all the juggernaut.
Rempe's a fighter. And everyone knows that. I thought Rempe was in Toronto originally.
Juggernauts of the NHL was going to get himself hurt. Well, this is exactly what he needs to bring his fighting game to the next level. And yeah, that skill may not translate to the playoffs. I mean, he didn't fight in the playoffs, but having the heavyweight of the NHL is a nice little boost to any team. George himself said Rempe will be the NHL heavyweight champ, no doubt. Which, I mean, that's high praise. George Laraque was one of my favorite players growing up. He could throw him, but he could also score too. What I distinctly remember is
I'd watch two fighters go at it. But boxing is kind of like hockey, but without boxing gloves. Actually, yeah, boxing gloves, but different types of gloves. And they have a helmet on. Actually, they don't have gloves, so yeah. No gloves and just a helmet. That's the only difference in hockey for fighting. I just realized that.
is in 2000
I'm
when he
making
had
a way
that
that
hat trick
idiot.
for the Oilers, and the third goal was legitimately beautiful, kind of a good reminder of just how skilled everyone in the NHL is. What's funny is that I actually found the highlight for the hat trick on a YouTube channel called George Larocque, and it's clearly been recorded off TV with someone's VCR, which leads me to believe this may be George's own personal YouTube channel, which I love. I mean, if I were an NHL player, I would be exactly like that. But yeah, that's all I got. See you guys soon.
I'll do that too. If I was a hockey player.